Welcome back to A.R.T's Real Repairs for Real Customers. This is the YouTube channel that lets you ride along with a real mobile repair technician. We are continuing in our series on the double needle blind stitch. We've had so many requests to see that on leather, and that's where we're going today. So come on, let's go to work. This is the driver's seat of a 10-year-old vehicle traded in at a local dealership. It has slide-out damage, meaning that when the driver exits the seat, he slides out. Imagine a 100-pound burlap feed sack being dragged off the seat time after time. This is what you would see. Now double that weight and put it in denim jeans. So what do we expect? So as the driver exits, he bunches up the leather and wears through the top of the ridge. Understanding that, the repair would have to survive being completely doubled over. We wouldn't want to trust any repair products in that scenario, so it makes sense to stitch the seat. Initially, this would appear to be a good candidate for the upholstery shop. However, most shops in my area will insert with vinyl here. With hand stitching, we're able to keep the original leather. Ideally, we'd like to start our stitching an inch or two away from the damage, but in this case, we are confronted with the intersection of another French seam. Since we would struggle to incorporate the thickness of this French seam into our repair, we are going to start up closer to the damage. This will pose an additional challenge since we don't have the luxury of tapering our repair. We have to go immediately around the damage. Whether that's going to work or not, we don't know until we try, so here we go. We will still be using a 3 or 4 inch curved needle, but this time use the chisel point for leather. Remember that for the cloth seat we used a round tip needle designed to find the space between the fibers instead of cutting fibers. Here though, we have to cut new holes. Our goal is to replace the top stitch of the French seam with a very neat blind stitch. The blind stitch will gather all the damage into the seam. It is a bit of a compromise, but in this situation, we find it yields the best results. For the full description of the double needle blind stitch, you should see part 1. What deserves attention here is that we don't want to gather the leather together with only 1 or 2 stitches. Do several stitches and then compress the panel to remove the pressure. Then pull out the slack in the thread. Have a couple inches of seam done before pulling completely tight, so that we have many stitches sharing the load. Here I'm giving extra consideration to pushing the excess leather out of the way so that my seam starts neatly. Sometimes I use an S curve needle, which pre-punches the holes. That can make the work easier on some tougher leathers. And this is a tough leather, especially the leather inside the French seam. For tough leather, you will find it necessary to pay close attention that you are holding the needle correctly. The curve of the needle should rest against the inside curve of your index finger. That way you're supporting the needle all the way its length. Failure to do this can easily snap the needle in half. When starting your stitch, penetrate the leather with a downstroke. Then pull back a bit and travel forward under just the top layer of leather. After 3/8 inch of travel, position the needle for exit, and you will see it poking the leather upwards. Now imagine the curve of the needle follows your index finger all the way to the elbow. Now when you thrust upward through the leather, your elbow follows that curve. And this creates the follow-through that puts all the energy to the point of the needle in the proper direction. Failure to follow through like this will leave you struggling on leather and breaking needles. As you've been seeing, the stitch is neat when we push the excess leather down out of the way so that the stitch holes can join to one another. Then of course we are ending our stitch with a square knot. And as always, I insert the tails of our thread through one of the holes that the knot uses. We'll exit the leather a distance away from the knot. That way we have a length of tail underneath the leather. That way we don't clip the thread too close to the knot. And hopefully the knot will turn under. And now all that's left is to color the seat. It's a good idea to cross-link the color coat and to add a protective cross-linked clear coat with a slip additive. The main purpose for the slip additive is to reduce friction and drag on exiting the vehicle. Thanks for watching. I hope that was informative and helpful. And if you haven't subscribed already, hit that subscribe button. Also, if you hit the bell, you'll be notified of future videos.